Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between, and welcome back to the life and suffering of Sir Brante, part 6 of our Inquisitor path. When we last left off, we gave up a life for Sophia, and we're working towards getting the spirituality skill as high as possible. Give you an idea of where we're at. It's all going quite well. We've got a great lot of willpower saved up that'll come in handy later on. So without further ado, let's jump straight in and keep going. Or actually, let's have a quick look at the Empire. I did say I wanted to go through this, and I haven't done it yet, so let's do it now before we dive in. Let's cover Anizot first, and I'll do more in other episodes. So we've got Anizot, the city of our birth and the capital of the arid province of Magra. It is the largest and most ancient city in the south of the Empire. Anizot is the home to the Silver Tree, a sacred landmark grown by the twins when they descended to the mortal realm. The old prophecies say that Anizot is where the end of the world will begin. Keep that in mind that we've got a revolt coming, and the name of this game in its full title is The Life and Suffering of Sir Brante in the Fall of the Blessed Arcanian Empire. Magra overall was the last to join the Empire. The southern province of Magra is an arid wasteland ruled by Archduke Melanidas. During Char Melanidas's rebellion, this land was devastated by foul magic and rendered infertile. Local peasants now grow their crops in soil imported from other regions. The hills and mountains of Magra are blessed with silver. And you've got a bunch of different cities. Eniri, the headquarters of the Imperial Overseer Gaius Tempest. Castle Eniri itself, as well as the village around it and the adjacent tracts of land, belonged to the Melanidas dynasty until Gaius Tempest was appointed the province's overseer in the Archduke's stead. Thanks to its vast farmland, nourished with imported fertile soil, Castle Eniri grows its own provisions and maintains independence from the rest of Magra. We've got Fabrine, the second largest city in Magra and a place of industry. Fabrine was the original capital in the province before the appearance of the Silver Tree. This is a common saying. A man from Fabrine and a man from Anizot will never see eye to eye. Tuono, a noble estate with a small village, it currently has no owner. It was formerly owned by the El Merce bloodline before their blood tide ran dry. According to the ancient tradition, the Archduke of Magra will grant Tuono to the next bloodline to be ennobled by the sword. That's interesting actually, I forgot that I read that in my noble playthrough, so I think that's hinting that we could get that as a noble. And the current Archduke of Magra can give that to us. Valona, a city that is home to the largest monastery in the province of Magra. Founded in the commemoration of the final unity of all the lands in the empire, the monastery of Valona is the second most popular destination for pilgrims after the Silver Tree. The monastery's monks are famed throughout the empire for their healing skills. Possibly we might get sent there when we join the proper priest path. Sulmina, a large prosperous village in the east of Magra, it has accrued considerable wealth thanks to the numerous silver mines in the nearby hills. Many Sulminian commoners have grown rich and joined the new faith. And Serpent Verde, a castle in the middle of the Magran waste that serves as the family seat of the great Melanidas dynasty, the archdukes of the province. It is the most impregnable and well-defended fortress in the south. So I'll give you a little idea of the area we're working in at the minute. So, it's year 1130, we're on chapter 2, and a storm of expectations. Finally, the day comes when the teachers stop coming to the house. But before you can breathe a sigh of relief and put away the books, Father asks you to come to his study. You've grown, my son. It's time for you to continue your education away from home. I've chosen a deserving school for you, Sir Thibault's school for the children of noblemen and well-off commoners. Naturally, it is not a boarding school for nobles, so you will study there during the day and come home in the evening. You share the news with your best friend, Tomas. Sir Thibault's school, eh? Yeah, I gotta ask my parents to send me there too, as soon as they get the coin together. Father says his workshop has toiled day and night for years to save up for my education. The school is based in an ancient estate of Arcanian design. The classrooms are tall and spacious, with massive benches. The sounds of scraping quills and lectures on history and imperial law and theology echo under the vaulted ceilings. The rules are strict, the lessons tiring. Restless, Tomas keeps getting distracted, and several times he gets his hand slapped with a stick for it. Every teacher demands a flawless mastery of their subject. Every day Father asks you about your studies. You've already told him twice how Magla joined the Empire and how the nobles' court of honour is different from the commoners' civil court in the city prefecture, but Father keeps pressing you to work even harder. When it is time to go to bed, Mother will not let you go and sleep until you recite a newly learned prayer for her, and when it is time to go to school, you promise her every day that you will behave with great humility and steer clear of insolent behaviour of any kind, for you still live by the commoner's lot, and that lot is hard work and suffering. Your first month in school draws to a close, and the teachers announce that there will be exams at the end of the month to determine the best and worst students in each subject. Father insists that you devote all your spare time to studying law and history if you wish to follow in his footsteps. But when you speak to Mother every day, you start considering theology. You still remember the revelations and divine visions that came to you in your earliest years. You have only one more day until the exam. You have locked yourself away in your room. It is already getting late. Your desk is covered with handwritten notes, surrounded by leather-bound books. Just looking at them makes you queasy, but you have to read through all of them again, at least for one of your subjects. There is a nagging thought on your mind. Tomas ended up in big trouble the other day. He got in a fight with several boys who lived next street over. They heard about your wooden fortress and got in an outrage by the fortification built by commoners. They swore to dismantle it tonight. Tomas swore he would defend the fortress until the end. Perhaps you should abandon the books to rescue the friend in need? But then you hear your little brother Nathan knocking at the door. He stands there shyly, not saying a word. He often does that, standing still and staying speechless until either you speak first or he runs away. But this time he actually says something. The door is locked. Are you okay, Jordan? Is there anything I can do to help? Your head is spinning. This is the last evening before the school exam. If you fail, your family will be very disappointed. You have to refresh your memory on law or theology, either one or the other. But Tomas and your fort are about to be stormed. Why today of all days? You grind your teeth and rage at the thought. Nathan is by the door, trying not to bother you. He wants to help you the only way he can, for reasons known only to him. Will you accept his help? So, the clear option for us is to study theology because we want to be a priest, but let's just see what the other options hold. So we could focus on law and history, which will increase nobility, as well as our relationship with our dad. Go help Tomas, which increases ingenuity and our relationship with Tomas. Study theology, increasing our relationship with our mom and spirituality, which is actually great because that puts mom at +4, which is where we need her for the end of this chapter. Or we can spend a moment with Nathan, which increases my willpower and Nathan's relationship. Unfortunately, I don't need more willpower. I've already got 20. That's 5 actions. And while I really like Nathan, I want to be close to him, it's not the most important thing right now. The best option for us is actually study theology. I might have considered something else if the consequence was better, because I haven't played this before, but seeing all the consequences laid out, I've only played it blind. So I didn't know what the other options held, but this gives us exactly what we want: spirituality plus the relationship we need with our mother. So we're going to go study theology. You devote what little time you have left before the exam to studying theological texts. You push Nathan out of the room. He cannot possibly help you prepare for the exam. With him out of the way, you delve into the books on theology. Your mind is awash with the names of saints and zealots and concepts of the divine. Your studies tire you out so much that you fall asleep among the books until Mother wakes you gently and sends you off to bed. Come morning, you barely have the time to wake up before you are walking to the menacing edifice of the school. The entire day is a constant stream of school subjects, demanding knowledge, questions demanding answers. You demonstrate satisfactory knowledge of law and history, though you are somewhat confused by the technicalities and chronological order. It feels like the day will never end, but the end does come at last, the theology exam. As luck would have it, it is the final test of the day. The teacher, a priest, starts asking you questions. Surprising even yourself, you provide coherent answers for all of them. You quote eminent theologians on why and how the lot of the clergy is to provide spiritual guidance to the other estates. When the questions require examples, you quote prayers and lives of saints you have read with Mother. You earn the highest grade on the exam. Yes, well done us. Good job, Jordan. Mother is +4. Back home, you are overjoyed to tell Mother how you aced the theology exam. She pats you on the head gently and says you should tell Father how you did in history and law. Spirituality +3, we're nearly soulful. We're aiming for blessed by the gods, at least 7 or 8, because we need that for... We've only got 4 determinations, so our eloquence will only be 12 if we can get it to 8, but we'll see what happens. 11:30 Fall. Noble titles. Your education continues. As you study imperial law, you come to realize that there is a certain hierarchy even within the noble estate. It seems your father's status is not equal to that of the more eminent human and Arcanian gentry, which is what actually Tomas told us in a previous event. You return home with this new information at your disposal. Father asks you about school after dinner, as he always does. So we have the Arcanians at the very top. Then we've got the nobles who have been ennobled by the sword. Then those who have been ennobled by the mantle. And those then, like me, who have the potential to become ennobled by the mantle. And what is the difference between nobles of the mantle and those of the sword, Jordan? You already have an answer ready. The latter status is hereditary, meaning that it is passed down from father to son. After the Arcanians, nobles of the sword are the most eminent humans in the Empire. They own land and estates, they fill offices of the highest rank, and the names of their bloodlines are preserved within the Great Blue Book. Nobility of the sword can only be granted by the overseer of the province or the emperor himself. It's actually really good playing back on this, looking at my noble playthrough where I'm currently just on part 14. And remembering stuff like this, so we should get to know the overseer more if he can grant the nobility of the sword. I know there's an achievement to become a part of Gaius Tempest's court, so hopefully we can still do that. The last thing that happened in my noble playthrough, I think I chose the wrong option and should have went with El Varman, who wanted to help us become a magister. And how are such eminent people addressed? That was a bit of a tangent, sorry. With the honorific L before their last name, you respond. Sir Augustin Elborn, for example. Father pats you on the shoulder, clearly pleased. And what about the Arcanians and their status? What have you learned about them? The Arcanians stand above all human gentry. They are born to rule over humans regardless of their titles. No L is required when addressing them. They need no honorifics, for the names of their ancient dynasties are known to all. Father nods somberly. Yes, we can never be their equals. Do whatever an Arcanian tells you and never defy them, ever. And what about grandfather and me? Where do we stand as nobles? That is easy. Father and grandfather are nobles of the mantle. This title cannot be inherited, but it can be earned by any commoner as a reward for great service to the Empire in the Legion, or as a civil servant. Father suddenly grows quiet and looks you in the eyes intently. Yes, and someday you will be able to earn a noble title too, son, all in due time. Sorry, Father, we're going to disappoint you this time. Sons of the nobility. Sir Tibor's school teaches children of all stripes. Nobles of the mantle and low-born parents can send their sons here, and every passing day the children of noblemen invent new ways to snub and bully the commoners. Most of the time the bully leading them is Diedrich, the son of the secretary for the imperial chancellery and a self-important slob. The sons of noblemen never pick on you, however. They know that your father has been ennobled by the mantle. However, Diedrich and his retinue soon choose Tomas as their favourite victim. Time and time again, you ask your friend not to pay them any mind, but again and again Tomas grows angry and snaps at their self-satisfied mockery. It is early morning. The students are busy flocking to the classroom for their next lesson. You wave Tomas over when you see him. He waves back at you, and then a bucket full of slop splashes on him. Needless to say, it is the work of Diedrich and his entourage. You hear his familiar creaky laughter. The tailor's son stinks. How dare he sit next to decent folk? Tomas clenches his fists. You're dead, Diedrich! He throws himself at Diedrich's haughty entourage like a soldier ready to wage war. He attacks them first. This is just what they expected, and they are free to retaliate. He barely makes one movement before 4 pairs of hands grab him at once. Diedrich sneers and kicks your friend in the belly. Tomas gasps for air and starts coughing. You stand between them as Diedrich readies another kick. The nobleman's son cocks an eyebrow. What do you mingle with commoners, he asks. Your father was a noble of the mantle. You ought to be friends with your own kind, your equals, not the dirt beneath your feet. Behind him, 4 boys hold Tomas down as he struggles furiously. The other students are watching you, frozen in fear. Diedrich haughtily extends a hand to you. He clearly expects you to shake it. What will you do? Ah yes, just like Malfoy at the start of the Philosopher's Stone to Harry Potter. So we can challenge him to a fight, which gives us nobility and Tomas up. We can turn him over to the teachers, ingenuity and Tomas. Admonish the nobleman's son, which gives us spirituality and Tomas. Or we can shake Diedrich's hand. Wow, that's interesting. My father approves of that. but Tomas wouldn't like me. That's quite interesting, actually. I would never have thought that gave reputation. It's interesting. At the start of this game, the developers recommend you have consequences on, so you can clearly see where you're going with your path, and you don't make mistakes. I mean, I prefer having it blind, but at the same time, some of the decisions are crazy. Like, that's mad. I would never have thought shaking his hand would give us our family reputation because two kids shook hands in school. But anyway, let's go with spirituality, of course. That's quite an easy one, actually. It gives us all, basically, you can get any skill you want. Plus Tomas likes us, so that's pretty good going. So the children of parents who have been ennobled by the mantle still bear the commoner's lot. You make a speech, not to the lead bully himself, but rather to his retinue. How come Diedrich sees himself fit to instigate fights? His family may be higher in rank, but like everyone else here, he is yet to take the nobleman's sacrament himself. The nobleman's lot is not yet his, so he is not yet fit to fight or rule, nor are any of you. The twin gods are ever watching over us, you add, and they are ever vigilant. Do you dare to defy their will? Diedrich tries to retort. They've broken no laws, he says. All they've done is teach commoners the meaning of suffering. You call upon the knowledge gained from your theology lessons and easily pick his argument apart. Every man's first duty is to follow his lot, and Diedrich and his friends lack the humility to accept that they are not yet true nobles. The hands holding Tomas down grow weak. There is a whisper among the students around you. You're right. The twins are always watching how we follow the lots. Diedrich's retinue quickly dissolves in embarrassment. He furiously orders them to come back and join his cause, but his extortions are all in vain. Tomas likes us, even more. The other boys are clearly impressed by your words. The noble children will think twice before acting out again. And we're now soulful, which is great. So 5, 6, only 3 more and we'll be blessed by the gods. We're getting there. I'd like to increase nobility quite a bit as well, just to have it there as a backup. All these skills will come in handy later on, never mind just the main skills. We've unlocked new event, an adult question. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. We've met the condition for having 4 spirituality. So, not doing too bad with this. I've got Mother at 4 and spirituality at 4, which is what I wanted, and nobility at 4 is our next goal. The day is sunny, scorching and hot. You are sitting in the yard in the shade of a tree, studying books about the twins' great descent. You hear shy, quiet steps. There is no need to look back. You know from the sound that it is Nathan. Your younger brother also sits in the shade of the tree, yet he is quiet. He is not tugging at your clothes this time. That is unusual. He is just sitting by your side, breathing loudly. You tear yourself away from the book and look at your brother. Nathan is deep in thought. He seems uneasy. He is fidgeting with a symbol of the twins, a cross inside a circle, the lash bound around the sword. It is Nathan's pendant. He wears it all the time, but not today. The silence wears on. Nathan takes a deep breath, like he's about to speak, but he does not. His face grows ever grimmer. He looks unusually hurt and bitter. At last, Nathan gathers his courage. He takes another deep breath. His eyes narrow. His hand clutches the encircled cross. Tell me, Jordan, the twins, they hate me, don't they? Oh, why would he say that? Nathan's voice is quiet yet firm. The words falls silent around you. Not even a gust of wind can be heard. It is as if everything is waiting for your answer. You look at your brother again, confused. Nathan, the youngest brother, the most unassuming child. He is quiet, obedient, and thoughtful. He has been your responsibility almost since his birth. Yet he has never been a burden. Father was always aloof around him, and mother was too tired to even smile. Even grandfather seemed to avoid Nathan with his scorn. He just treated your little brother like a piece of trash. He never called him by name, and always winced at the sight of him, perhaps because he looks so much like mother. But is it true that the twin gods have no love for your little brother? Surely the twins have enough even for little Nathan, do they not? Nathan was born a commoner like you. His lot is suffering. Everyone is detested by the twins before their true death. No one can expect mercy along their path. He was born the youngest child in your family. That is his trial. Should Nathan persevere and bear the burden he is dealt, he shall yet reach the peak of the pillar when his time runs out. There is hope in Nathan's eyes as he looks at you. Guiding others in matters of faith is the clergy's lot. You are no priest, yet you cannot stay quiet. You see his pain and you see his trepidation, and so you will tell him what you think. What you are about to say may be a turning point in his life. This is where we failed in the noble path. We didn't get this event, and this really changes Nathan's life around quite a lot. If you're following my noble playthrough, he basically becomes a wanderless drunk, but this changes his life, what we tell him now. So we can confirm his fears, which gives us nobility and ingenuity, or we can dispel his fears, which gives +1 with Nathan's admonition and spirituality. So we're also going to do that. The twins are love for all that exists. We're going to dispel his fears. You tell your brother that the twins are more than just law and will, they are also love. So writes Isatius, the disciple of the elder, and so says Mother, and both you and him were brought into this world through their providence. It is true that their love is quite unlike the love humans have for one another. They cannot forgive others unconditionally, like mother or father would. Your parents loved you no matter what, but they are unlike them, and yet the twins bear no hatred, for they descended to our world and granted us knowledge of how to live, and this is a great treasure indeed. The twins put us all to the test with the hardships they send. They watch how we follow our lots, and if Nathan suffers and feels no love for them, then that means they believe in him, and know he will endure this suffering. They know he will humbly accept it, and let it pass through him, let it purify him. This is the manifestation of their love. Nathan hangs on your every word. The despair fades from his face. He is smiling. He puts the chain with the encircled cross back around his neck again and hugs you gratefully. We've restored his faith. So they do love me. Thank you. You've helped me hold on to my faith. Nice. Extra +1 for him. You hug Nathan back and hear him sniffle on your shoulder. He'll remember this talk for years to come. And we're now soulful as well, so good job us. We can at least take away some suffering. Nathan's admonition. Your younger brother Nathan Brante has received a spiritual admonition from you. Oh, that worked out quite well. The music in this game is so good. That was such an emotional scene. 13 years of age. So the good news is that I know at the end of this chapter we can choose to go to Mother and get a +2 in spirituality. So that's going to put us at least onto 7, which is excellent. But nobility is quite low. So is everything really. Now, here's an event that I messed up in my noble playthrough, so hopefully I can set it right this time. The Silver Tree. Your theology teacher tells you more about Anaizot. It is more than just a provincial capital, it is also a sacred place blessed by the gods. It is where the twin gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from that blood grew the sacred Silver Tree. Its enormous foliage hangs over the city. You see its branches in the sky every day, but you have never approached the trunk of the tree yourself. Today you'll be taking your first trip to the Silver Tree. Your class is visiting a service in the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thanks to your theology teacher, you and the other students will witness this landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everybody is excited. Soon you and the other boys enter the slums surrounding the church district of Anaizot. The roots are pulsating under your feet. They spread underground all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are home to paupers, day labourers and preachers. The people of the district bow humbly to you and point you towards the temple. They seem at peace despite the abject poverty in which they live. All who live directly beneath the tree are filled with its divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in it. Your class is unusually quiet. Everyone is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems a part of it. There's a crowd there, pilgrims dressed in travelling clothes, paupers and beggars, common people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who are gathered in separate small groups. Many people are wandering around, staring upward at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. You are filled with a desire to sit down and think of the world, to learn something about yourself, to touch the silver-white bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You are distracted enough to fall back from the rest of your classmates. You notice a small path. It should take you right to the trunk. A tall red-haired woman walks out of the crowd of pilgrims. She is wearing a worn white robe. She is no longer young, but her face is youthful and covered in freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You've never seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you almost as if she has recognized a lifelong friend. She beckons at you and says her name, Mathilde, a preacher from Astynia. What she says next shakes you to the very core. It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teachings of the twins, she says, yet you will never follow the light of the truth within the walls of the temple. Inside you will find only the lies about the lots, the erring words of prophet Esateus, sanctified by the passage of centuries, yet anyone who sets out to read the accounts of the twins' own life knows that they never so much as mention the lots. The red-haired preacher's words frighten you. They clash with everything you have heard from Mother, everything you have been taught at school. The lots are a lie? You freeze in fear. Should you argue with Mathilde or ask her for more information, or should you treat her as a madwoman and catch up with your classmates? You suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your own. You see a girl next to you. She is just a little older than you, wearing a black dress, threadbare yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered by a handkerchief, with only a single golden lock showing. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at the strange young girl, your cheeks flushed by the sudden touch. There is just a bit of colour on her cheeks too, but then she starts speaking to you quickly. Don't listen to her, she's dangerous. Come to the temple with me, only there will you see the truth. Nice, we unlocked both of them. I didn't have the Epiphany in my first playthrough. So you stand there surrounded by the crowd of praying pilgrims and the sounds of shuffling feet, torn between two people you have never seen before, and each of them expects you to follow her. But all the while you hear the whispering of the wind in the tree's branches. The branches reach out to you almost, as if the tree wishes to speak to you itself. Can you hear its voice? So we follow the girl into the temple. It will give us matters of the heart, which we didn't get before with Octavia. Our willpower will go down and we get acquainted with Jean. We can stay with the red-haired girl, which gives us spirituality +1 and Jean goes down. Not a great option. We leave them and approach the tree. We get willpower +10. That's the option I chose last time and why I didn't get the Nathan event. Or I could give into the Epiphany, which leads to the revelation of the tree. Our spirituality goes up +1. I think I'm going to do that instead. Because I didn't get to do it last time and I really wanted to do it. It's a shame we don't get up with Jean. I'd like to do that, but I have a feeling we'll encounter Jean again in the priest playthrough. We're going to give into the Epiphany. We're going to open ourselves up to the tree itself and listen to it speak. You step away from the girl in black and the woman in white, your eyes transfixed by the tremendous towering trunk of the tree. For some odd reason, you recall Mother's ant farm, with the ants hard at work inside and her face as she explains its laws. It is a fleeting, distant memory, a child's realization about the workings of the world at large. And at this very moment, you see yourself and all the other people for the ants they really are. You cannot look away from the tree. The people around you begin to fade away. Their voices melt together and disappear. The world that surrounds you feels frozen and still now. The slow swaying of the rustling branches is all there is. The branches catch you and raise you up. You soar in the air, higher and higher along the trunk of the silver tree. The branches, the leaves, their light is blinding. Their light holds you up and embraces you. And at this moment you realize something as clear as the daylight beating down on you from high above. This tree is divine. There is no doubt left in you. This tree was planted by the twin gods and left in this land, an ever-living proof and a mark of the twins' existence. And the tree, it speaks to you. Speaks in a language you understand, in the language you learned long before you were born. It speaks of soothing love, and of crystal clear law, and of love and law intertwining to bring the miracle of life to you. From this high up, you can clearly see all of the land below. From here you see the entire empire embroidered with a shining thread of providence, illuminated by the twins' presence. It takes you but a moment to finally realize what the teachers have been talking about all this time. The fates and lots of the people, the workings of life and the empire, it was all created and arranged by the twinses. and absolutely everything bears their mark, their design, and inspiration. And it is in this world that you were given life. Somehow the tree seems to realize that the revelation is now fully within you. It gently lowers you back down to the ground. You glide down between the glowing branches, illuminated by what you have just seen. You spoke to them? You come back to your senses. You are still standing by the tree, firmly rooted to the ground. The branches release you, and you are once again aware of the pilgrim's prayers and the noise of the crowd. The young girl in black is staring at you. She is clearly agitated. My uncle is a priest, and he told me the twins can choose to speak with you through the tree, but I've never seen it happen before. Jean starts asking you questions. She wants you to tell her what you just experienced, but you cannot speak. It is so difficult to see the temple's familiar interior again, to see the district around it and the sky above. The memory of the sight from atop the silver tree now gleams in your mind. I just hope you'll share your revelation with me someday. Don't worry, I'll get it. My name's Jean. I'm an acolyte. I work in the temple. I help my uncle clean the grounds and cook food for the poor, and I also greet the worshippers. People come here all the time. Many are lost and they don't know where to go once they're inside, but nobody should feel lost in this place. The temple is for all the estates. But then you hear your theology teacher calling you. It is time for your class to return to the school. Before you leave, Jean suddenly takes your hand. You cannot help but blush. Please listen to me. Few people ever see these things. The twins, they were speaking to you and you heard them. It's a sign. You should become a priest. You'll be guiding those who cannot hear the twins. You'll be helping their souls find their way to the top of the pillar. It's the most honourable calling in the world. You say goodbye to the young acolyte. Yet as you return to your ordinary life, Jean's words remain in your memory from that day forth. By the will of the twins, we are destined to meet with Jean. And we're one away from blessed by the gods. You experience a revelation by the sacred silver tree. So I'm going to focus on nobility a little bit going forward, I think. We still have an option to push spirituality up, but we need some nobility, I think. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know how you felt about the decisions I made. Would you have made things differently? How do you think the story is going to unfold? And I will see you in the next episode. Take care and have a good day.